Now, in today's lecture, let us have a brief discussion on inflammations. First of all, what is an inflammation? Inflammation is a rapid response of vascular connective tissue towards the external injury. The injury may be physical or else chemical, anything. That may be because of rapid response of vascular connective tissue towards injury. A rapid response of vascular connective tissue towards the injury is called inflammation. Now, let us suppose if there is any external stroma in this area. Now, if you hit like this is external stroma or physical stroma. Now, there will be inflammation in this area. After the inflammation in this area, then the blood flow towards this area will be increased, and there will be action of neutrophils and macrophages, and killing, and it results in killing of the injured cell. This is normal function of inflammation. And what are main cardinal signs of inflammations are? There are 5 signs of cardinal inflammations. Let us consider these are the 5 cardinal signs of inflammation. That is, first one is, it includes pain, and it includes redness, and it includes swelling, and it also includes hotness, and last one, it includes loss of function. Pain, redness, swelling, hotness, and loss of function. These are the 5 main cardinal signs. These are the cardinal signs of inflammation. These 5 are the cardinal signs of inflammation, that is pain, redness, swelling, hotness, and loss of function. And if we discuss about the types of inflammations, there are 2 different types of inflammations. Inflammations are categorized in 2 forms. One is acute inflammation, while the other one is chronic inflammation. One is acute inflammation and other one is chronic inflammation. What is acute and chronic, and the difference between acute and chronic? It is, this acute is rapid response of vascular connective tissue, and it is rapid and it is transient. It is rapid and it is transient. But chronic inflammation is, it is delayed and it is prolonged action. It is delayed one and it is prolonged one, and these are basic differences of acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. That is, it is rapid and transient, and it is delayed and prolonged. Now, let us discuss, in this area there is an external trauma and how the inflammation takes place at that particular tissue, and the process of inflammation. Now, let us consider this is a tissue. This is a tissue which is injured or which is undergoing the inflammation process. Now as it is a tissue, it consists of blood supply to it, that is arteries, arterioles and microcirculation and venules. Now let us consider this is arteries, and this is the microcirculation or else capillaries, and after the capillaries it will be drained into the venules. Arteries, these are the arteries and these are the capillaries and these are the venules. Now let us consider these are the parenchymal cells, these are the parenchymal cells, and it also consists of stromal cells. These are the stromal cells. These are the parenchymal cells and these are the stromal cells. Now, first let us discuss about acute inflammation, and let us draw only one stromal cell here and two parenchymal cells. Let us consider this is one parenchymal cell and this is one stromal cell. Now, if there is any bacteria will be entered in this tissue, let us consider any bacteria. Let us consider this is any bacteria which is entered into this tissue and will show its action and will damage this tissue. They will damage the stromal cells and parenchymal cells. Now, whenever these stromal cells and parenchymal cells are damaged, they release special type of chemicals. They release special types of chemicals. Now, like the special type of chemicals are like histamine, thrombin and leukotriene. Histamine, thrombin and leukotriene. Now, whenever these are released from the infected parenchymal cells or infected stromal cells, now as these are the arteries, it consists of smooth muscles. It consists of smooth muscles. Let us consider this is a smooth muscle. Whenever if there is any inflammations in this area, first of all, because of some neurological responses, there will be vasoconstriction will be arterioconstriction will be taking place at initial conditions. There will be vasoconstriction will be taking place. This vasoconstriction will be left for only little period, only small amount of time. Now, after the vasoconstriction, then the chemicals which are released from parenchymal cells or stromal cells, these are called chemical mediators. Now, these are histamine, thrombin and leukotrienes. Histamine, thrombin, leukotrienes. Now, they will act on smooth muscles of arteries. they will act on the smooth muscles of arteries. These are the smooth muscles of arteries. Now, because of this action of histamine, thrombin and leukotrienes, there will be arteriolar dilation. Then there will be dilation in this area. It gets dilated. Now, whenever there is a dilation in the arteries, then the amount of the blood to the arteries will be increased. The amount of the blood which is coming into the arteries will be increased in the inflamed region. Now, if there is excess amount of blood will be entering into these arteries, it has to pass through the capillaries and it has to pass through the veins. So, if there is arterial dilation in this area, the amount of blood which is entering into the microcirculation will be increased. So, if there is increase in the flow of blood in the microcirculation, there are two different types of forces which are managing the flow of this blood in the microcirculation. That is, first it includes hydrostatic pressure. Let us discuss the hydrostatic pressure. And as we know that in the endothelial cells, it consists of endothelial cells. These are the endothelial cells. Now, let us consider this is a normal functioning microcirculation. First, let us discuss about normal function and let us come back to the inflamed function. If in normal function, in normal blood vessel, if there is excess amount of blood which is entering through the arteries and will be passing through the this microcirculation, then let us consider first force, that is hydrostatic force. Let us consider hydrostatic force. Normally, the hydrostatic force which is present in normal microcirculation is about 35 mmHg. Let us consider this is 35 mmHg. In normal blood vessel, the hydrostatic pressure is 35 mmHg. Now, as long the blood is moving from arteries, from capillaries to the veins, this 35 mmHg hydrostatic pressure will get decreased. It will get decreased in case of normal functioning microcirculation. This 35 mmHg will get decreased. That may be, it may be 25. It may be 25 or else it may be 15. Let us think this is 15. Now, this is the hydrostatic pressure, and there is one more special type of pressure which is mediating this flow, that is osmotic pressure. Let us consider this is osmotic pressure. In normal conditions, the osmotic pressure will be 18 mmHg, or else it consists of, let us think this is 22 mmHg. In normal condition, it is 22 mmHg. Now, whenever the blood is flowing from arteries to the microcirculation to the venules, this 25 mmHg will remain constant. It will remain constant. It will remain constant, but this is 22 mmHg. But positive hydrostatic pressure will get decreased, whereas osmotic pressure will be remain equally. So, because of this hydrostatic pressure will be decreased, then the fluid will be moving from endothelial cells to the outside. In case of normal conditions, this is normal conditions. In case of inflamed cell, in case of inflammation, let us discuss. In case of inflammation, in case of inflammation, there is vasodilation. Then the amount of blood which is coming into the microcirculation will be increased. Then let us consider the hydrostatic. Let us consider the pressures which are maintaining here. there are hydrostatic pressure now and osmotic pressure. Let us come to the hydrostatic pressure. In case of inflamed cell, the hydrostatic pressure will get increased. Normally it is 35 mmHg, but in case of inflamed cells, it will be more than 35. Let us consider that is 65 mmHg. That is 65 mmHg. Here let us compare it with normal, that is 35 mmHg. This is 35 mmHg. Now this is normal condition. This is in normal condition, whereas in inflamed cells the 35 mmHg will be increased to 65 mmHg because there will be increase in the positive hydrostatic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure will get increased, and in normal cell, as we discussed, that the osmotic pressure will be 22. That is 22 mmHg. There will be no decrease. It remains constant. But in case of inflamed cells, this osmotic pressure will get decreased. It will decrease to 18 mmHg. This is the pressure, that is 18 mmHg. In case of inflamed cell, the hydrostatic pressure will get increased and osmotic pressure will get decreased. So because of the decrease of osmotic pressure and increase of hydrostatic pressure, there will be formation of interendothelial spaces. There will be formation of interendothelial spaces. There will be formation of endothelial space. There will be formation of endothelial spaces. Now these endothelial cells are laid on special basement membrane. This is a basement membrane, and here also it is basement membrane. So because of the formation of interendothelial spaces, because of increase in positive hydrostatic pressure and osmotic pressure, the protein rich fluid will be moving from vascular compartment to the non-vascular compartment. Protein rich fluid will be moving from vascular compartment to the non-vascular compartment. Now this process is called exudation. This is called exudation. Exudation is a process in which the protein rich fluid will be moving from vascular compartment into the extravascular compartment because of increase in positive hydrostatic pressure or decrease in osmotic pressure. That is exudation. And we compare to the exudation, one more term, that is transudation. Transudation is a process in which non-proteinaceous fluid will be moving from vascular compartment to the non-vascular compartment, whereas in exudation, protein-rich fluid will be moving from vascular compartment to the non-vascular compartment. Now, let us discuss. This is the first in acute inflammation. It includes two phases. This is acute inflammation. It includes vascular events and also it includes cellular events. First one is vascular and second one is cellular events. Now this is first part of vascular event. This vascular event again divided into two forms. One is, first one, it includes increase in arteriolodilation. Arteriolodilation. This is the first step in vascular events, and second step is increase in membrane permeability. Membrane permeability. As we discussed that there is increase in arterioconstriction, this is arteriodilation, this is over. Now our task is how the membrane permeability will be increased. Now here the membrane permeability increased. what is the condition which results in increase in membrane permeability? Now let us consider this is one normal endothelial cells. This normal endothelial cells will show two phases or two types of contractions. Now first type is, these are infected parenchymal cells. These infected parenchymal cells will secrete special type of chemical mediators that are histamine, leukotrienes, or else it also includes prostaglandins. Now, because of this action of histamine, leukotrienes and prostaglandins and some other chemical mediators, there will be contraction of endothelial cells. In this way the cells are damaged. Cells are contracted. Now this process in which whole cell is shrink to the center side, it is called contraction. This is contraction. And this normal endothelial cell can also show another function, that is, this is endothelial cell. Only the outermost parts will get shrinked. Center part will be remain same, only the outermost part will get shrinked. Now this is because of special chemical mediators that are interleukin 4 or else tumor necrotic factor. Interleukin 4 and tumor necrotic factor will result in this condition. This condition of shrinking the endothelial cells at the outer sides only is called retraction. This is contraction and this is retraction. Contraction is mediated by histamine, leukotrienes and prostaglandins, whereas retraction is mediated by interleukins 4 and tumor necrotic factor. These conditions will result in increase in membrane permeability. There will be increase in membrane permeability. Now this contraction will be rapid process. This is a rapid process. If we discuss a graph in this area, that is rapid process. The graph will be like this. But if we discuss this retraction is a time consuming process, or it will take some time to get activated. Now if we discuss a graph in this area, it is delayed and it is prolonged. This is fast and transient and this is delayed and prolonged. It comes under chronic inflammations. Now this is one condition which results in increase in membrane permeability, and there is another condition, that is, if there is any physical trauma at the certain tissues or specific tissue, if there is any physical trauma, then the arteries will get dilated and microcirculation will get dilated and venules will also get dilated. At that place there will be slow and prolonged response. That is, this is the graph. There will be slow and prolonged response. This is the first condition, and this is the second condition, and this is the third condition. These are the three conditions which results in increase in membrane permeability. That is second part of vascular events, that is vascular events includes arterial dilation and membrane permeability. Now, if there is membrane permeability, then because of increase in membrane permeability, the protein-rich fluid will be moving from vascular compartment into the cellular compartment. Now, with this proteinaceous fluid, special proteins will also come into here. It includes complex complementary proteins. These are the complementary proteins which will be moving from vascular compartment into this fluid, into extravascular compartment. This is about arterial dilation and membrane permeability, which includes under vascular events. Now let us come to the cellular events. Before going to cellular events, one point to remember is, as there is flow of protein-rich fluid, then it also involves some white blood cells or else some macrophages. This is about vascular events. Now let us come to the cellular events. Let us discuss about cellular events. There will be formation of endothelial gaps. Because of shrinkage, there will be formation of endothelial gaps, and these are parenchymal cells which are infected, and it includes stromal cells which are infected because of bacteria. Now, our vascular events are completed. Come back to the cellular events. In the cellular events, let us consider if there is more blood towards as there is vasodilation, arterial dilation, there will be more blood coming towards this area. If there is more blood coming to this area, in normal condition, the blood will be flowing in linear manner. What is a linear manner means? Let us consider what is linear manner means. This is a blood vessel. Let us consider this is one blood vessel in which the blood will be entering here and will be moving here. Now, in case of linear blood flow, the large sized cells will be moving in central area. These are the large sized cells which are moving in central area. But it includes neutrophils or white blood cells, and surrounding it includes small sized red blood cells. It includes small sized red blood cells, and on upper side of this, or more laterally, it includes small sized platelets. It includes platelets, and more linear to it, it includes plasma. It includes plasma. In this way, the blood will be flowing. It consists of large size macrocells that are leukocytes or white blood cells will be moving in the central area, whereas these small sized red blood cells will be moving from laterally, and platelets will be moving laterally. Now, in this in the same case, which can be applied here, that is in case of vaso-arteriolar dilation, in case of the arteriolar dilation, the amount of the blood will be increased, then positive hydrostatic pressure will also increase and osmotic pressure will be decreased because of there will be exudation. Now blood coming to this area will get increased. So its center it consists of these white blood cells and surrounded by RBCs and surrounded by platelets. Now whenever this blood is moving from arteries into the microcirculation, it is moving into the arteries, from arteries to the microcirculation, then because of the exudation, the protein rich fluid will be moving from vascular compartment to the extravascular compartment. Then the hemo concentration of blood will get increased here. Because of the hemo concentration, then the RBCs will become clustered. There will be formation of cluster of RBCs. As there is increase in hemo concentration of blood, when there is flow of proteinaceous fluid from vascular compartment to the extravascular compartment, then RBCs, platelets and white blood cells will be remained here. Now there is RBCs, especially these RBCs will form clusters grouped together. They will form a group of clusters. This group of clusters, this is a group of cluster of RBC. Now it is more in size when compared to the white blood cell. Now, and it also includes platelets. So because of this more size of this cluster of RBCs than the white blood cells, then this cluster of RBC will push this white blood cell towards the margins. It will be pushing towards the margins. It will be pushed towards the margins. It will be pushed towards the margins. This is called leukocyte margination. Leukocyte margination. Because of cluster of RBC size increased, then it results in pushing of this white blood cell towards the margins. That is called margination. Now let us consider this is one white blood cell which is SAD cell. This is one white blood cell and will be pushed towards the ends. They will be pushed towards the ends. Now, when they are pushed towards the ends, they will get stickered to the endothelial cells. It gets stickered to the endothelial cells. Let us draw this diagram here. They get stick to the endothelial cells. How they will stick? There is a mechanism. Let us consider these are the, as you know that these are the parenchymal cells and stromal cells. These parenchymal cells and stromal cells will secrete a special type of chemical mediators that are histamine, thrombin, and it includes leukotrienes. Histamines, thrombins, leukotrienes, and it also includes prostaglandins. These are released. Now, with the help of this Let us draw one endothelial cell in larger size. Let us consider this is our endothelial cells. Now, because of the histamine, thrombin and leukotriene and prostaglandins, there are special vesicles present in the this endothelial cells, and these vesicles will get activated with the help of these chemical mediators, and whenever these are activated, they form special proteins. They form these special proteins on surface of endothelial cells, and as we know that let us consider this is one white blood cell which is inactive form. Now it consists of extensions. These are the extensions of white blood cells. Now these extensions are called sialylated sugars. Sialylated sugars, or else simply it called as sugar molecules, and these red color structures are called P-selectins. These are called P-selectins. Now these sugar molecules will get attached to the P-selectin molecules. They will get attached to the P-selectin molecules. They will get attached here. With sugar molecules. These black color are the sugar molecules, and will get attached to the P-selectin molecules. There will be attachment of leukocytes, or that may be neutrophils will get attached to the endothelial cells, but this attachment is temporary in nature, so they cannot form this is not a strong bond. So again these parenchymal cells and stromal cells will secrete another type of chemical mediators that are, let us consider, that is interleukin 4 and cytokines, or else it includes interleukin 4 and tumor necrotic factor, and it also consists of special proteins or else vesicles. They will get activated with the help of this interleukin 4 or else tumor necrotic factor, and will form special proteins. They form special proteins. Now here it is, as we told that this is not a strong bond, and there may be chance of removing this bond, and they will be tilted in this microcirculation and will get attached here. This is our white blood cell, and with the help of sialylated sugars they will get attached here. They will get attached here with the help of interleukin 4 and tumor necrotic factor, and this bond which is formed with the help of interleukin 4 and tumor necrotic factor, and these special proteins are called E-selectins. These are P-selectins and these are E-selectins. These are P-selectins and these are E-selectins. So the bond which is formed between the neutrophils with the help and with E-selectins with the help of interleukin 4 and tumor necrotic factor, This is also not a strength bond. It is also weak bond. Now there is a chance of removing of this bond, and this is another endothelial cell. Now there will be chance of breaking this bond between the E-selectins and sugar molecules, and these are the parenchymal cells, and they secrete another type of chemical mediators, that are cytokines. The best example of chemical mediator in cytokines is chemokines. It includes chemokines. Whenever the chemokines are released, these chemokines have special receptor on endothelial cells. They have special receptor on endothelial cells. This is a chemokine receptor. Now, as we discussed that, let us consider this is our white blood cell, and this white blood cell consists of special structures on surface of this white blood cell, that is, it is called as integrins. These are called integrins. These special structures are called integrins. Now, with the help of this with the help of chemokines, this neutrophil will get attached here. Neutrophil will get attached here with the help of leukotrienes. This leukotriene will get attached here. And whenever these leukotrienes are attached, these are inactive form of leukotrienes, and they will get activated. And whenever it is attached to the endothelial cells, they will get attached, so they will get activated. And on surface of this endothelial cells, it secretes two special molecules, and these two special molecules will be attached to this neutrophils. These are called ICAM or else VCAMs, which are secreted by endothelial cells. They are called intracellular adherent molecules or vascular cell adherent molecules, which are secreted from endothelial cells on surface of endothelial cells. Now, the bond which is formed between the ICAMs or VCAMs and with the neutrophils is strongest bond, and they cannot be broken easily. Now, this histamine, thrombin and leukotriene, it is fast, and it is the fastest response. This is the fastest response, and this is a little bit slow, and this is the slowest, which comes under chronic inflammations. And whenever these are formed, now they will get attached to the endothelial cells. After attaching to the endothelial cells, let us consider, after attaching to the endothelial cells, let us consider these are the endothelial cells. And this is white blood cell, in which it consists of which are attached to the endothelial cells with the help of leukotrienes. with the help of integrins. Now, after attaching, there will be releasing of special proteins that are homoproteins. These are called homoproteins, which are released from the adjacent cells of endothelial cells. Let us consider here it is a neutrophil. This is a neutrophil, and these are attached to the adjacent cells. These blue color proteins are called homoproteins. Now the function of these homoproteins is it will grab the neutrophil into this inner side. It will grab this towards the inner side. Now whenever it is grabbing, then it is a saddest neutrophil. Then the neutrophil will get accumulated here in this area. This is a neutrophil which is accumulated in this area. Now there is, as we know that this is a basement membrane. Now it has to pass through the basement membrane. How they can pass through the basement membrane means it will synthesize a special protein that is collagenase. This collagenase will be synthesized. Now it results in cutting of this. It results in breaking of this basement membrane. Whenever these are released, when basement membrane is ruptured, then it can enter into the extravascular compartment. Now they will enter into the extravascular compartment. Now the main task is, after entering into the extravascular compartment, how they can go towards the infected cells and will show its action. Now let us consider, this is a neutrophil, and this is another neutrophil, and this is another neutrophil, and these are another neutrophil. How they can come towards the infected cell? These are infected cell. How they can reach towards the infected cell? How they can reach towards the infected cell means there is special chemical mediator concept, chemical mediators concentration. Chemical mediator concentration will be increased. Now, whenever the chemical mediator concentration will be increased, then these neutrophils will have chance towards this chemical attached towards the chemical mediators. That is one pathway. And second pathway is this infected, this bacteria which is entered will secrete special protein, that is N-formyl methionine. N-formyl methionine is a protein which is synthesized from the bacterial cell. Whenever this N-formyl methionine is synthesized, then these neutrophils will get attracted towards this N-formyl methionine and will show its action here. That is second form. And third one is this infected parenchymal cells will secrete special type of protein, that is interleukin B. Interleukin B. Then if there is interleukin B concentration is more, then these neutrophils will get accumulated in this area, will show its function. And as we discussed, this is third one. And fourth function is, as we told that because of exudation, the complementary proteins will get accumulated here. This is complementary protein, that is C5a. Because of complementary protein, these neutrophils will get attached to this complementary protein and will show its action. In this way they can show their action. Now, how they can show their action of neutrophils to on the infected cells means, let us consider one neutrophil. This is a neutrophil and it is C5a protein, and on surface of this neutrophil it consists of 7 pass receptors. One, two, three, four. 7. It is 7 pass receptor. Now this 7 pass receptor will activate protein kinase. Protein kinase, after the protein kinase is activated, it will denature the proteins. After denaturing, the calcium concentration will get increased in the neutrophils, and after calcium concentration will get increased, then there is synthesis of actin molecules. Actin molecules will get synthesized here. These actin molecules which are synthesized will be coming towards the outside in this manner, and these actin molecules will get binded to this C5a molecule. These actin molecules will get binded to the C5a molecule, and with the help of this complementary protein, let us consider this is neutrophil. This is a neutrophil in which actin is synthesized and attached to this C5a protein, and they will engulf these infected cells and results in decrease of inflammations. They will engulf these cells. And will kill this bacterial growth and decrease in inflammations. This is a detailed study of inflammations.